Hey guys, welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video called Inside the Mind of Traitors 40k Lore, featuring Baldermort, Lorgar, Curze and Fulgrim, made by the Ember King. Yes, if you want to check out my previous reactions to other Warhammer 40k universe videos, remember the playlist card will be at the top. Just click on it and you'll be able to access them. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
Nine legions, each traitors to the vows they gave to the Imperium of Man, but each of them utterly unique. The way they wage war, the reason for their betrayal, the doctrines and philosophies they stand by. So let's chip away at the armor together and delve into the core of their doctrines and philosophies. Let us explore the legions and their primarchs. Let's delve into the mind of traitors.
All I ever wanted was the truth. Remember those words as you read the ones that follow. I never set out to topple my father's kingdom of lies.
This is Baldermort, isn't it? I can hear his voice.
From a sense of misplaced pride. I never wanted to bleed the species to its marrow, reaving half the galaxy clean of human life in this bitter crusade. I never desired any of this, though I know the reasons for which it must be done. But all I ever wanted was the truth.
Truth, an often subjective experience. Who are we as humans, beings whose perception of the world can often be misinterpreted or false, to give the absolute truth? Why do the word bearers burn and bleed the galaxy in the name of the primordial truth?
Lorgar actually looks kinda cool with this armor set and his golden insignia writings on his face. He looks cool. He looks cool. Too bad. Too bad.
The worship of chaos. It starts upon Terra. It is the 30th millennium, and unity upon Terra has been achieved. The wars of unification are over, and the numerous tribes, kingdoms and enclaves have been brought into the Imperium of Man. From the defeated peoples of Terra, their sons were taken. They were to become warriors in the army of the one who had crushed them, the Emperor of Mankind. These children were all too aware of the failures and ignorance of their lineages, a stain that they had to overcome. These children became the 17th Legion, the Imperial Heralds. Encompassed by the words, "If we kill everyone who resists us, then we will reign over a kingdom of ashes." 17th Legion were more than just warriors. They were bringing the enlightenment of the Imperial truth.
Okay, 17th Legion. Let me just write this down. This guy, I don't know why, but he kind of reminds me of... You know, I don't know if you guys have played the game Dragon Age, but they have similar attire like this in Dragon Age Inquisition in Orlais. Yeah, in the capital city of Orlais. What is it called again? Valrayo. Yes, they wear something similar to this, with this kind of anoint mask with a sun and gold and silver and white and everything. It just looks so fancy. It's very, very interesting. It actually suits with their Primarch, because the Primarch is also dressed in a very ornate and very rich kind of way. So yeah, it's quite interesting. I like it.
Doctrines and teachings that separated them from the primitives that were their defeated parents. A legion who took to its belief so zealously that it became a source of their pride, a constant flow of dopamine that made them feel above the ordinary man. For how could they not? Gene-enhanced super soldiers who brought to the scattered colonies of man the enlightened doctrines of the Emperor, a doctrine that decried the belief in the supernatural, using science as the only certainty. It was this self-righteousness that became a canker in the heart of the Legion's philosophy, a string that would be tugged by their father, Lorgar Aurelian. Decades into the Great Crusade, the 17th son, the Primarch Lorgar, was found upon the world of Colchis. Lorgar was reunited with his sons, and what began was a shift in the mindset and doctrines of the 17th. Lorgar was a man of faith, a contradiction to the teachings of the Emperor. He believed the resplendent golden man of his visions was the god of humanity, his creator, his father. A new philosophical approach was created. Seeing the power of the Emperor, how could he not be divine? The philosophy became might is right. The Emperor's psychic powers were unmatched. His presence was awe-inspiring. The very majesty and wonder he exuded was nothing short of divine. This accumulated in Lorgar's creation of the Levitico Divinatus, a scholar's work or a divine sermon. The Primarch created a tome filled with his supportive reasoning for the Emperor's divinity. Faith. It was not enough just to follow him, but to have faith in him. Faith is the soul of any army, be it vested in primitive religion or enlightened truth. It makes even the least soldier mighty. The craven is remade worthy, and through its balm any hardship can be endured. Faith ennobles all of the worlds the soldiers undertakes, be they so base or vile, and imparts them to the golden spark of transcendent purpose.
I think Fulgrim has it there. You can believe in logic all you want, as much of it as possible as you want, but in the end, you still need to have that hope, that belief, that faith, to say that I trust, I believe in my cause. I know that I'm going to win. I know I'm going to do great because I trust, I believe, I have faith in my leadership, who is the Emperor or my Primarch. So I think he has it there. He really does have it there. I think maybe Lorgar, right? Lorgar was probably like a religious priest or something to that, effect on his planet of Colchis. He probably was like a religious person, unlike Rogel Dawn, where he was much more of a warrior, a conqueror. He fought wars for his home system and he created a small little empire of his own. Probably the other brothers also had their own backstories about how they grew up and how they became what they are. So in terms of Lorgar's case, it seems that he probably was in a very religious family. He became very religious. He had visions of the Emperor probably, and he saw him as a god, and that already mixed up with his own religious background on his home planet. Now, you can't really see the Emperor as someone who is based purely on logic and science and technology, but he sees him as a divine god, as someone with so much power and divinity, if I can say that. So yeah, I kind of understand how Lorgar became the way he is, and probably why the Emperor won't really be happy around him, because he has this religious background about him. But it's okay.
Faith, something everyone shares. Faith in gods, in philosophies, in friends and family. Faith is empowering. Faith is inspiring. But faith can also be self-righteous. The Legion shifted from their zealous atheistic belief to a religious one. They had seen the Emperor and his power. They could see their Primarch. and feel the awe-inspiring presence. They had faith in their father, but what about a god? A god whose very genetic material was a part of them. In a way, they were part god. The Legion's doctrine became an extension of Lorgar's worship. Over decades, all came to see the enlightenment that complemented their previous strategies and tactics. Worlds were not to be burned. If we kill everyone who resists us, then we will reign over a kingdom of ashes. The Legion became a holy order, similar to those of our history. They were conquerors in the name of faith, and just because of who they were, they thought themselves to be the pinnacle of virtue, deluded into thinking the strength of religious faith equates to being a good person or soldier. A truly interesting outlook for warriors, separating themselves from their origins. But how can a Legion, a Primarch who claims worship of the Emperor is their core foundation, become corrupted by chaos? It lies in the words,
"The most beautiful and profound emotion we can experience is a sensation of the mystical. It is at the root of all true science. That deeply emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power, which is revealed in the incomprehensible universe, is my ideal of God."
Truth. Lorgar and his Legion's truth is the sensation of the mystical. The way they conquered and fought was always about building towards a better future, a future they believed in, because it meant they were special. Have you ever felt that? The feeling of an absolute belief in something greater than yourself, the almost rapturous self-importance it fills you with. It's comforting. Lorgar and the Legion's self-righteousness was crushed upon Monarchia, when the Emperor chastised the Legion and shattered their self-image. It left a hole in their heart, a chasm that the worship of chaos could fill. The truth is...
Wait, okay, so the Emperor chastised Lorgar and his Astartes for their religious background or religious activity, venerating the Emperor like a god. Okay. Malakia is not Colchase, right? It's not Lorgar's homeworld. Alright.
Not that Lorgar and the Word-Bearers believe in chaos because it is true. It is because it makes them feel above others. The self-righteousness that Lorgar and his sons need became the justification for so much evil. Similar to their pre-heresy tactics, worlds were conquered and temples were erected. People were forced to follow a faith they did not believe, and for the select few who are chosen to be allowed to worship chaos, everyone else is sacrificed to them. Dark gods that embody the worst of us: stagnation, obsession, deceit and rage. Worst of all, the 17th Legion only see what they do as adherents to a doctrine of faith. They follow the words of their gods, so they cannot even perceive the evil in what they do. A philosophical outlook that exemplifies the criteria of a cult. Only a select few are privy to the information and secrets at the heart. Only a select few are worthy to receive the gifts from worship. Lorgar and his Legion are the pinnacle of evil. Pain and suffering inflicted by those who feel zealous and self-righteous doing it. They search within their hearts and the galaxy for the so-called truth, but what they did with it truly condemns them.
These humans, their imaginations are strong. Kill 1,000 men, and they will hate you. Kill 1,000,000 men, and they will queue to face you. But kill a single man, and they will see monsters and devils in every shadow. Kill 12 men, and they will scream and wail in the night, and they will feel fear, not hatred. They are panicky, gossiping beasts, these humans. It serves us to allow them to be so.
Fear. a survival instinct which has repercussions across all of humanity. We fear what may be lurking in the dark. We fear the outsider. We fear change. We fear what will happen to those who we care for. Why are the 8th Legion, the Night Lords, so consumed by the weaponization of fear? It begins on Terra. It is the 30th millennium, and unity upon Terra has been achieved. The war of unification is over, and the numerous tribes, kingdoms, and enclaves have been brought into the Imperium of Man. The 8th Legion's first recruits were drawn from the underground prisons and gulags scattered across the world, a near pitch black existence where there was no law. Only the strongest and most ruthless survived in the subterranean warrens. The philosophy of survival of the fittest. Children were born into these hellscapes and were taken to be turned into warriors for the Emperor. The 8th Legion's humble origins made them suited for the doctrines and tactics they were destined to follow. Blind justice. The 8th Legion's first role was bringing to heel those whose sins of the past could not live on in the newborn Imperium of Man. When such crimes required not only crushing but retribution, the Emperor deployed the 8th Legion. Blind justice left no room for shades of grey in the 8th Legion's moral universe. There was only guilt or innocence. But the philosophies and doctrines changed when the Legion was reunited with their Primarch, their father, Comrade Curze, the Night Haunter, an alter ego, the manifestation of what became the Primarch's twisted view of justice, began its influence of the Legion, now the Night Lords. Growing up alone in the dark, rotten world of Nostromo, Conrad had developed an outset that ensured his blind justice. Fear. Fear was the tool to create utopia, a place free from crime. Conrad, all alone on Nostromo, forged his twisted justice by observing the crime-ridden streets and through the memories of people whose brains he ingested.
Okay, he ingested their brains. Oh my gosh. I was about to say he kind of reminds me of Batman, but no, Batman doesn't eat people's brains. So, okay. How could the Emperor create a child who eats other people's brains? That's nasty, man.
Conrad, even from his very first thought, knew he was to be an instrument of justice. He was judge, jury, and executioner. As he took to the streets, he enacted his vigilante justice indiscriminately. Every break of social order was punished. Murderers and thieves were cut down, irrespective of any reasoning. But to the Primarch's dismay, crime continued. Roaming gangs still butchered poor souls, and people stole for wealth, or mostly just for food to survive. To the Primarch, his evolving philosophy on justice was incomplete. What good was punishment if it did not deter others? It was only when the Night Haunter tapped into fear that he found the results he wanted. Every single crime was punished the same way, a broadcasted torture session, leaving the victim begging for death. We fear what may be lurking in the dark. We fear the outsider. We fear change. We fear what will happen to those who we care for. But perhaps most of all, we fear a gruesome fate. Conrad created a world gripped by fear. Children learned of the Night Haunter, a giant humanoid figure who would torture you to death for even the smallest error. The world of Nostromo became a totalitarian nightmare. The world was at peace, but only because the fear of stepping out of line was so great, people became caricatures of humans, going through the motions, smiling, working and living, but beneath it all, it was fear. The Night Haunter took his vigilante philosophy to the stars when he was reunited with his legion. The 8th, a legion known for its view on swift, crushing justice upon their enemies, changed. Conrad's doctrines were designed for ruling, but how did it fare in conquest?
Okay, what I've also realized is that the Astartes that belong to a particular Primarch. I know that they have the same genetic information that's been transferred to the Astartes, right? And they are the gene sires of, or the Primarchs are the gene sires of the Astartes, right? So what I found interesting is that in terms of the legions themselves, they already have a thought process that is similar to their fathers. For example, with the 17th Legion, they are true hardcore believers. Before they even met their father, they were true hardcore believers of the imperial truth, of the empire, of the emperor, and his imperial truth of logic and science and everything else like that. They believed in it so vehemently, you see. And Lorgar himself, he also had his own belief, but it was not the same as his children. It was, or should I say, his sons. It was more like a belief in divinity and gods and all that other kind of stuff. So with Conrad Curze's Legion, the 8th Legion, they also have a sense of justice, just like Conrad Curze has a sense of justice on his planet of Nostromo. So it's quite interesting how the sons and the father are mirroring each other. They're having the same sorts of thoughts in terms of who they want to be and how they want to act as Astartes or as Primarchs. So that's quite interesting.
His attitude to war was an extremely utilitarian view, with a twisted incorporation of his methods for achieving it. Conrad's and the Night Lord's purpose was justice. Would it be just for millions to die in the mud, sacrificed in a war in which they would be unremembered? Humans are panicky, gossipy beasts. The 8th Legion became icons of fear, just how Conrad became the Night Haunter. Their armor was shaped and decorated in a way that conjured dread. If you are honest with yourself, you know that you would not be brave if you came to face them. As the Legion would begin their conquest of a non-compliant human world during the Great Crusade, it would be these giant spectres of death that burned into the eyes of the terrified defenders. But no battle came, just silence, until to the world's horror, they would discover only a select few had been kidnapped. Their torture was broadcasted, a slow and excruciating death that in your imagination you could not even colour the horror. The Legion became what their father moulded them to be, torturers, icons of fear that caused such dread that worlds would capitulate out of fear, but in turn sparing millions from death. The few suffered for the many. Conrad and the Legion saw what they did as a necessary evil, as a sacrifice. They were willing to do unspeakable things in the name of peace. In a way they were right. Billions who would have died lived, but they were wrong, and the truth lies in the words spoken by his son Sevatar.
Answer me, father. What politics of peace did you teach? What scientific and social illumination did you bring to this society in your quest for human utopia? What other ways did you try beyond eating the flesh of stray dogs and skinning people alive? The only way to do what? The only way to bring a population to heel? Then how did the other Primarchs manage it? How has world upon world managed it? Without resorting to butchering children and broadcasting their screams across the planetary voxnet. You came to love it, just as we did. The power, the righteousness.
They became a walking contradiction, a legion of murderers and thieves. Sevatar was right. Using fear was easy, but it was not the only way. Conrad and the Legion brought peace, but that peace is a joke. The philosophy was about achieving justice, where the least casualties, a conquest and rule where less died, but no one really lived. For those closer to the Primarch, such as Sevatar and Talos Valcoran, they both came to a bitter conclusion about their father and their legion, that all they had done was in vain. Worlds they had conquered either rebelled later when they were left alone or overcame their fear, and that in trying to enact their blind justice they had become monsters. They fought for an imperium that had no place for them, a justice that left no place for nuance. Sometimes when you look at these ruthless vigilante characters, you envy the imagery, the power they exude. But like with Conrad and the Legion, the truth is, they are broken, tormented people, deluded into thinking they are martyrs for a utopia that could have been achieved another way.
That was good. That was so good. That was so very good. Oh my gosh. Yes, Conrad Curze's policy on trying to subdue other planets by using fear, that doesn't work. It has a momentary effect, but eventually humans either overcome the fear or, they just simply forget. We can't be controlled. A society can't be controlled by fear. We've seen that happen on planet Earth many times, where dictatorial nations have been controlled with an absolute fist, or by using fear tactics, by using threatening images, and all this kind of painful scenarios that would occur to you if you rebelled against the state. And people still rebelled. People still fought against that system. And just like here with Conrad Curze's missions to bring justice to all these worlds that they've conquered, it's just not going to work that way. Really, it's just not going to work. So yeah, no, I really like this. This is good.
I came from nothing. I scrabbled in the quarry pits and down in the deepest mines, carrying buckets on my shoulder because the ascender blew a gasket. I broke my fingernails on raw ore and grew blisters from heat and labour. You look down on them, blind to the beauty of their struggle, blind to what they might become if only someone would scrape the filth from their faces. Look at them, my sons. You are the highest, they the lowest. It is your duty to raise them up, as high as they will go. Anything less is not worthy of you.
Perfection, an achievement without flaws, or a journey with an unobtainable goal. Fulgrim and the Emperor's children strive towards perfection, and yet we see the results of that journey is a twisted legion, fallen to chaos, who indulge in the most depraved acts the human mind can comprehend. Why have these once paragons of humanity become so twisted? It begins on Terra. Unity has been achieved. The wars of unification are over, and the numerous tribes, kingdoms and enclaves have been brought into the Imperium of Man. From the noble families of Europa, their children were offered up, proud to have their lineage join the ranks of the Emperor of Mankind's elite. It was a chance for prestige. These proud sons were transformed, infused with chemicals and gene seeds, and turned into large, magnificent warriors. Stronger, faster, and smarter than baseline humanity. The Third Legion were a legion proud to be serving in the great destiny of reuniting mankind across the stars, even earning the exclusive right to bear the Palatine Aquila across their chest as a symbol of their bravery and abilities in protecting the Emperor. But that pride was shattered when the Third, not even a year after their greatest triumph, had experienced the viral blight. Their gene seed was corrupted, and new legionaries could not be built. The proud sons of nobles belonged to a withering legion, afraid not of death, but a shameful legacy. The mindset of these last remaining legionaries was a prideful one. With their low numbers, they served as champions in the Astra Militarum, lone duelists who would constantly train their martial skill, as well as learning to behave as an image, a rallying point for their mortal allies. When it seemed this legion was about to be lost to the annals of history, They were saved by the return of their Primarch, their father, Fulgrim. Fulgrim was magnificent, a man who had risen from a quarry miner to the leader of an entire planet. Fulgrim had created a philosophy about perfection. He had seen the lowest of humanity and saw how with dedication all could be raised up, empowered to rise up as high as we could go.
He kind of looks like a French noble or the king of France or something, you know, with his attire and the what is it? The wing here on his shoulder. I think that's what they call the aquila. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, he really looks like a French noble. And even the hair.
Self-improvement, something we all strive to do, be it mind or body. Becoming the best version of yourself is admirable and important. In fact, do you not dream of the person you could become? It was this philosophy of self-improvement, forged in the mind of the Primarch, that became the Legion's doctrine, for they would aim as high as they could go. They were the Emperor of mankind's warriors, his children. Anything less was not worthy of them. Fulgrim changed the Legion. With fresh gene seed available from the source, recruits swelled the ranks. They embraced the mindset of becoming champions of the Imperium, just like their early days amongst the Astra Militarum. The Emperor's children trained rigorously. They pursued excellence in all things, such as arts and culture, decorating their armor in ways that captured the essence of demigods, humanity perfected. Fulgrim became a symbol, a facade that encompassed the best of the Imperium, noble, talented, cultured and strong. He knew the effect he had on others if he presented himself as a perfect being, how it inspired people, but also how it separated him from that quarry mine, the time he had been the lowest. Similarly, how the Legion born from the noble bloodlines erased the shame of being nearly wiped from the viral blight and disbanded. But there is a problem to the philosophy of perfectionism, a problem that led Fulgrim and the Legion down a path of corruption, to the path of chaos.
Going from the pursuit of perfection in all things to ultimate depravity isn't a journey anybody makes in one step. It's a series of small ones, each one justifiable in its own isolated way. But after you've taken 100 of those small steps, you're a long way from who you were at the start.
Perfection, the ideal. A journey that made Fulgrim and the Emperor's children refine themselves. They were raised up, but the problem comes from when those at the top stare down at those below. The Legion's mindset began to slowly transform during the latter part of the Great Crusade, in part due to the influence of the demon Layer blade possessed by Fulgrim. The Primarch and the Legion started to let the image of perfect soldiers go to their head.
Wait, so Fulgrim had a demon sword in his possession? And it started to influence him? Why? Why did he do that? Maybe because it looked beautiful and it's like, okay, this is a perfect sword, let me take it. Doesn't matter if there's demons in it, I'm gonna use it because it's perfect. Or something to that effect. Okay.
They became arrogant. Worst of all, their journey to perfectionism meant that it was never enough. They became numb to each achievement and sensation they experienced. Every strategy could be refined more. Each piece of art could be more exciting and captivating. Every dopamine high could be bigger. Fulgrim and the Legion had changed because their philosophy on perfection was not tempered by humility. They began to believe in the delusion that they could actually achieve it. Have you ever felt the sensation of skill or victory, that welling up of self-confidence? Those few seconds where you felt on top of the world. What would you give to feel that way permanently? Fulgrim and his son's self-confidence was pushed to such a level it became true arrogance, not the facade of the early Great Crusade. This was a weakness in their hearts, one that chaos exploited. During the Horus Heresy, with the acceptance of Slanesh as their patron deity, the Legion's mindset changed once more, over 2 centuries of small steps, and now the Legion took its last. The shackles of humility and reason were shattered. Fulgrim and the Emperor's children became obsessed with exploration of every act and sensation, each a reward for these perfect warriors. Fulgrim's perfection was selfish. His body was transforming into his new twisted ideal, a face that exuded lust, a multi-limbed snaked body for impeccable swift combat. The Legion's new philosophy became one of embracing their passions, no matter how dark. Each lustful and depraved act is perfected and taken to the extreme. Fulgrim and the Legion's downfall was never the fact that they strode towards perfection. It was them believing that they were close to it. The very perfection of a man is to find his own imperfections. They forgot that they were once people who needed the dirt wiped from their eyes. A journey that ended in evil because they wanted to be perfect for themselves and not for others.
Okay guys, that's it with Inside the Mind of Traitors 40k lore featuring Baldermort, Lorgar, Curze, Fulgrim, made by the Amber King. Yes, the word bearers were filled with their own self-righteousness and their pursuit to find the truth, if I can say that. They thought that because they have faith in the Emperor, and the faith that he is a god, that they are right and everybody else is wrong. If you don't worship, if you don't venerate this man who is a god, then you are in the wrong. You are someone who is beneath them. You are someone that is not even worthy to breathe the same air that they do. And it really consumed them into thinking that the rest of humanity should also follow suit in their ideals of worshipping the Emperor, of making him this god that all should love and respect and worship till the end of time. And really, when the Emperor chastised them and rebuked them for doing this, they probably did not understand. They believed that, the Emperor would be pleased with this work, but it's as if they just forgot, or they just set aside the imperial truth. They just put it away and they just made their own version of the imperial truth, where now the Emperor must be venerated as a god. It's quite interesting how that just happened, with them. And Lorgar was the spearhead of this new transformation of the 17th Legion. He was the one who continued to make the 17th Legion not being the champions of the imperial truth, but the champions of his own version of God, and that's his father, the Emperor. It's as if he disobeyed the direct commands of the Emperor. So Lorgar has been rebellious towards the Emperor and his institutions for a very long time then, I'm assuming, because I thought whatever the Emperor says is absolute. If I tell you that you should spread the word of the imperial truth, I expect you to do that. But then Lorgar does the opposite. He twists some words, he puts extra words in there, and he takes out some words, and then he says, no, this is what my father says we should be doing. So yeah, he really had issues, and it affected the rest of the Legion, in them believing that, through their zealousy, through their ultimate belief that they are right and everybody else is wrong, it led to their own destruction. The Night Lords of Curze, or Conrad Curze, the 8th Legion, their sense of justice, before they met their Primarch, they already had this notion of justice. They probably also believed that they were right. They had the right to determine who is right and who is wrong. They also displayed a sort of arrogance in that to them there's only black and white. There's no gray in between. There is no middle ground. It's either you are innocent or you are guilty. And if you're guilty, they are the judge and executioner. They will deal with you. So they already had that sense of being right and having that arrogance in thinking that they are the only ones who can judge you, who can dispense justice upon you. So when they met their father, it just amplified that kind of notion in their heads. Conrad Curze himself, he believed himself to be a person of justice, a vigilante who is above everybody else, who sees humans as nothing more but playthings, as cattle to be corralled into different parts of his farm, if I can say that, because basically Nostromo was his farm, where he controlled his human animals, where he displayed fear and exerted fear on them, and controlled them through their minds, controlling their fear. And he was their farmer. He directed them how to lead their lives. He directed them how to do certain things and how to act appropriately in society, probably. And if you went out of line, he would kill you. And he would kill you in public. He would eat your brains. That's something I cannot understand. Like, why would the emperor genetically modify his children to be cannibals like that? That's odd. But anyways, he just instilled this notion that he is everywhere, and if you make a crime, you'll do the time, and the time is death, a very excruciating death. He was also blinded by his own version of justice, where he believed the only way to make sure that these human pets or human cattle stay in line is if you show them fear. And fear is a good weapon, but it has a time limit. It cannot be sustained over long duration of time. Eventually, if you lose focus on your objective of creating a society based on fear, they will regain their humanity and they will fight back. Or if this notion of fear is continued for a long duration of time, eventually people will become exhausted. They won't care anymore about fear. They won't care for their lives because, the fear of losing your life has already become numb. You would become desensitized to fear because, they've been living in it, they've been breathing it, they've been experiencing it, so they'll just be desensitized and they'll just go on with whatever they want to do, no matter how scared they may be of death. So it was just not going to work out. His version of conquering worlds was fake. It was based on fear, and like I said before, fear has a time limit. Once that time is up, there's nothing you can do. Fulgrim, the Emperor's children, the Third Legion, yes, their pursuit for perfection, and their belief in their own righteousness, if I can say that. Just like with the Night Lords and the Word Bearers, they all had this sense of righteousness, that they were right, that they were perfect. They could not be criticized. They could not be seen as weak. They were the embodiment of what they believed the Emperor and the Imperium would have wanted of humanity. So their pursuit for self-perfection and even the perfection of the rest of humanity became so addictive that it corrupted them. It made them also become desensitized to the pursuit of perfection. You know, it made them go mad. That they could never be satisfied. They could never be happy with who they were. They always needed to find perfection. They always needed to improve something, even when it's already been improved, but they're not accepting that. They want more. They need more. And yeah, it really was an invitation to Slanesh, because Slanesh would love people like this, people who are never satisfied. They always want more. They always addicted to something that they can never attain, and that's also perfection. So yeah, the Emperor's children, it is unfortunate what happened to them. You know, they almost became extinct as a legion because of their gene. Their gene seed was corrupted, and that's when it started with them pursuing this perfection ideal. It may not have been as strong as how Fulgrim was on his planet, but they had this sense of saying, you know, if we are the last of our kind, let us be the best last of our kind. Let us be the very embodiment of the Third Legion, since there's so few of us left. So with that and Fulgrim's own ideologies in perfection, it just amplified that notion in them tenfold. And also Fulgrim, you know, using a demon sword. Why? Why? That's why I was actually asking whether this blade was, you know, beautiful for Fulgrim. Was it something that he had to have in his hand, something that was so amazing that he would risk his own life to use, even knowing fully well that it was a demon sword? Or maybe he didn't know it was a demon sword. I don't know. I'm not sure about that. But yeah, he was consumed with this notion of perfection, and because of that, he could not reconcile to the fact that this sword is actually dangerous. I should actually destroy it or put it in a safe where no one can touch it because it's corrupted. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for today. I got to learn about the word bearers, the Night Lords, and the Emperor's children, and yeah, it is quite interesting to see how they all fell to corruption and to the Chaos Gods. I'm just wondering, who is the patron for the Night Lords, for Conrad Curze? Because I know the patron for the Emperor's children and Fulgrim is Slanesh. So who is the deity that supports the word bearers and the Night Lords? If you guys know, then you can just tell me in the comment section below. But guys, if you like the video, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I guess I'll see you next time. Okay? Bye-bye.